Welcome back to Daily Fantasy Sports, Picks and Bets. It's The Mix, powered by Mayo Media Net here on YouTube and presented by Jock Market. Download that daily fantasy app for free. Use the promo code MMN. They're going to match the first $100 for free. If it's free, it's for me. We've been doing our thing again in the Jock Market. Yesterday came up a little bit in the black because I had some injuries at the end of the day, but hey man, those things happen. If it was a regular DFS slate, I probably went home with empty pockets, and that's why we love Jock Market so much, because you actually get rewarded for being sharp. Each individual play is weighted as such, and if you have a couple big hits like we did with Dion Carter, he ends up floating the entire portfolio. Love the Jock Market app. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at John Laghezza. That's right, it's your host, the big dude with the big mouth from the Big Apple, Big Johnny Stud, coming to you worldwide from Brooklyn, New York. As always, am I coming out the chair? Of course, as always, doing the thing that we do. Me and you, the Cork Stats crew, all the nuance and context you could possibly stomach when you hang out here at the Mayo Media Net. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to that audio-only pod. In a couple minutes, I'm going to ask you to do me a solid and stick your cartoon finger up inside me. Give me those YouTube likes, because they matter way more than they should. But enough of that. We need more of this, the fastest show in NFL absolutely anywhere. Take that bad boy to the bank, rubber stamp my name on it. Let's do the thing that we do, everybody. Come on. We're doing blue chips. We're using Run the Sims projections to come up with the highest projected players at each position for tonight's Monday Night Football. It's the Broncos and the Chargers in another AFC West. What was supposed to be a shootout, these have not turned into such. The darn Broncos playing in the mud. But, hey man, let's just see if we can get down and dirty and make some sense of the muck. It's our blue chips brought to you by Jock Market, the first pillar of profit. Right? We want to know who's going to be the best scorers on the slate. I got the top 5 scorers from each team up on my snazzy little graphic that I've been, working on. Let's just start with the Broncos. Of course, good players are going to do good things. Is Russell Wilson a good player? I'm not so sure. But he is at the top of the projection at 17 points, followed by Cortland Sutton, target hog at 16, drop down to Melvin Gordon at 14, slight drop to Judy at 12, to Mike Boone at 10. Wowza. I'm not sure, again, how any of these players make their projections, because I am really low on the Bronco offense. That being said, something we have spoke about on this show that, man, the lesson I need to learn myself, and I think, we all make mistakes and no one is perfect. I just try and make my mistakes openly, right? And in a manner that if I do make them, I admit to it, and then hopefully in public, right, we kind of make that pivot and get with it. What I'm speaking about is drawing up narratives in showdowns. Now, that's kind of how you get to the answer of these. Everybody's looking at a single game. The variance is very high. No one knows what the answer is going to be. So I'm never going to tell somebody your version of the story is wrong and mine is right. They're just different. What I am saying is, once you sink your teeth into the narrative, right, I'm not saying throw it at the wall. Do your analysis, run the numbers, project the game, model it out, however you do it. Then stick to it. Gosh, I'm so bad at that sometimes. I'll tell you, and I wear it up on my sleeve. Last game, it was like under. Everything that was coming up under. And then I went and took it over, and he didn't get there, right? Samuel, the Commanders are garbage. And that's the lesson here. Sometimes you do that. I think it's our nature to look for overs. Unders are not as sexy. And, they can get popped in the first play, and then, you're nauseous for the extra 3 hours. But, again, just understand when we run these projections, they're giving you an idea, putting the flashlight on the game, and then it's up to us to take the next level. Hopefully, I can help you do that. Let's do the other side, then we'll do a game breakdown for the Chargers. It's Herbert at 20, Eckler at 19, Williams 17, and then everyone else at 10 or below, followed up by Everett and Josh Palmer bringing up the caboose. Okay, but let's do the quick handicapping thing. I'll be trying to blow through this beginning part as fast as possible. Again, good players doing good things. Let's get down into some of the stuff that maybe not everyone has access to. Let's see if we can get some of these advanced stats and help you draw up that narrative before we jump into the penny stocks, which are the best values on the board per run the Sims. All right, Broncos, that offense is gross. Like I mentioned, only 15 points a game. That I think is last. They run only 64 plays for 344 yards. Those are middle of the pack, but the 5.4 yards per play well below average, a minus 9.8 EPA per snap on offense, again near the bottom of the board. One of the slowest moving teams in the league. 30 seconds of play. That goes up to 33 in neutral game script with a 65% drive success rate on offense. You can see why. They're inefficient. They churn. They don't hustle. All those things are going to kill you. The rush game, not very good. Minus 50% rush DVOA on offense. The line play has been okay, but it's just been $112 rush yards per game. When you lose a guy like Javonte Williams, there's really no juice back there. 4.1 running back yards per attempt, not any good. We know the pass game is gross. They've allowed 16 sacks near the bottom of the board, almost 9% adjusted sack rate near the bottom of the board. They're only completing 20 passes for 230 yards a game. He does go for 11.4 yards per completion. That's Russell Wilson, because he likes to throw so much to the outside. But he's got to learn to come in at least a little bit to the more high efficiency plays and allow maybe for some yak to happen. The Bronco offense has been very bad. Charger D, it's a mixed bag. 27 points allowed per game, not any good. 370 yards per game, not any good. 6.1 yards per play, not any good. However, a lot of it's really predicated around the poor run game. Now, I don't want to just like brush over that. Not being able to stop the run is not a good thing. Negative 1% rush DVOA, 4.5 adjusted line yards. That's middle of the pack, but 130 rush yards a game, 5.8 running back yards per attempt. I had to check it twice. That's just ridiculous. That is what gets you in trouble. You end up having to bring in extra guys in the box, which then opens up vulnerabilities in the secondary, where we've seen the Chargers get ahead. They allow a lot of attempts, not necessarily a bad thing, but they also allow a lot of completions. 36 attempts, 24 completions for only 240 yards per game. The total yards is not that crazy, but you can see what's going on. They're getting volume to death because the run game is beating them up in big chunks. They've given up, I think, more 40 and 50-yard runs than anyone in the league. Seems to happen every single week. So though the Charger D has struggled, the Broncos offense kind of stinks. And I know, again, this would be circling these narratives. Remember, Latavius Murray is back. Now, granted, it's not like, oh my God, Latavius Murray's back. I meant to say it the way I said it. Latavius Murray is back. And we just have to respond properly to it. Gordon has been okay, right? I think that's probably the best way that you could describe. He's really just been okay. You know, he's getting the attempts, so the rush yards are there, but a minus 4.7 EPA per rush. That's terrible. 4 yards per rush, not any good. Less than 1 yard before contact per rush, not any good. Just around 3 yards after contact per rush. That's not very good. He only has 4% of his plays going over 12 yards. None of these statistics are any good. You can see why they want to go and kind of replace him. And I think a lot of people are seeing the yards per attempt against the Chargers and immediately pushing in their chips on Gordon. So though we see the 14-point projection, I'm not sure this is really calculating for Latavius Murray, who has 3 full practices and now a week and a half with the team. Right, last week we really would have wanted to be careful with him because he hadn't played yet. We didn't know if he's going to workload. A veteran like that now with 10 days or more with the team, he could run in between the tackles, right? Let's give him some credit. So I'm off of Gordon. I'm worried about it. Maybe Lat Murray's our sneaky play. So I'm dialing down Gordon on the blue chips, which would then dial him down as far as being a value play. But again, that's why we like to break these things down, go into the extra level, and then help you, like I said, draw up these stories. Let's do the other side. Charger offense, very good. 67 plays for 390 yards, 5.9 yards per play. They move fast. We love the giddy up, which leads itself to fantasy production and overs. 26.6 seconds per play, top 5, and then 30 seconds in neutral game script. Those are, I think that might be top 3 or top 4. The run game has struggled for the Chargers as well. You know, Eckler is a bit more of a scattish back, right? And I don't think they really have between the tackles kind of bruiser. I think they're missing that a bit. They were hoping it would be Michelle. He's just kind of got worked out of the game with Josh Kelly, who I think we have to look at because, again, he's got some split work. Let's dive back into the handicapping stuff real quick before the value section. So, again, the Chargers offense struggling with the rush game, but the pass game is excellent. You know, Justin Herbert, one of the best quarterbacks in the game, 33% pass DVOA. He's only taken 5 sacks. That's a QB stat, which is excellent. 40 attempts, 26.6 completions, 291 per game, 7 pass yards per attempt, almost 11 yards per completion. He's not throwing picks. Justin Herbert is awesome. Denver Broncos pasty, though. This is the immovable force against the unstoppable object, minus 27% pass DVOA for the Broncos. They've gotten 17 sacks on the 9% adjusted sack rate, allowing only 176 pass yards per game. That is number 1, 5 yards per attempt. only 8.3 yards per completion, all those at the top of the board. However, receivers have done some work against Denver, right? Surtain is back there, and that is keeping people off of the opposing pass catchers. But we have seen some guys get it done, right? It doesn't happen often, but like Adams went for 100, Alec Pierce went for 81, Deebo Samuel went for 73, and it was more in the beginning of the year. They squashed the Seahawks before the Seahawks got good, and then they squashed the Texans, who aren't very good. So it's a rough go, but it's not an impossible mountain to climb. So I think on that side of the handicapping, you got it. Even, let's say we give the nod to the Bronco defense, allowing only 16 points a game, 289 yards. I was again in the top 3. But the Charger offense is really good. So I think in football, it's not really like baseball where very good pitching can dominate even good hitting and make it look listless. I think in football, really good offenses that are smooth and have the continuity that teams like the Chargers do are not going to hang 40 against a good defense like the Broncos, but I don't think you write them off for 16 points. Like I think they're a 3-touchdown team regardless. So there's a touch of the handicapping behind hopefully these projections before you go and get them. Again, I'm a little bit worried about the Broncos. They do chuck enough for Russell to get there, and the Chargers allow just enough for them to do it. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the trenches. I think that's the big concern. Everyone's run against the Chargers if the Broncos are unable to, because Gordon is just kind of whack. Are they going to keep smashing it? Will it be Murray? How split is that backfield going to be? So just keep an eye on that stuff. Where we do want to have our eyes for Jock Market and top scores, of course, is quarterbacks touching the ball every play, and then the number 1 wideouts, Sutton and Williams, kind of going ham as far as the usage stats go, right? Sutton, 29% of the team target share, 40% of the team air yards, like Hachi, Machi, Liberace, Mike Williams on the other side, 24% team target, 38% of the air yards. I think he might have missed the game as well. So, like, these guys just popping off the page. But there's a bit of it, and that's our first pillar of profit here at Mayo Media Net, presented by Jock Mark. Those are your blue chips, your top projected players. So I think we're going to be leaning more towards Chargers than Broncos, but again, keep our eye on Sutton for sure, right? If the Broncos fall behind, that ball goes to like one place and one place only. All right, we got our ball past midfield. Let's get it up into the red zone with our penny stock. But first, let's just take a quick breath. Okay, we are back. It's time for the penny stock segment of the show. Not just the lowest cost players, right, which would kind of be silly because we have tournaments and money to make, tournaments to win and money to make. These are the best values on a cost per point basis. We've also incorporated Jock Market IPOs. No one else is bringing it to you as far as Jock Market like we are, but I think it's important because most people that play Jock Market also play DFS conventional DraftKings style play, which I also do. So I think right now this section is like the overlap, right? This is the Venn diagram right now, really trying to push the understanding of how these two games work in symbiosis together. So let's get it done. I got 2 QBs, 3 running backs, 5 wideouts, and the best value tight end on the board. Let's get up and go get them. It's Justin Herbert and Russell Wilson. This one is a good piece of understanding, right? There's a lot. Let's get through the machinations of it. Herbert projecting for 20, 11,000 salary, 550 cost per point. Now, granted, that's pretty high in a vacuum, but not for a showdown, right? Remember, if you're following the main slate show that comes out on Saturday, thank you for all the people hardcore enough to be listening on the weekends. Those main slates, we want that number down around 300. Showdown slates, we're going to be looking to be around 600 or below. So even 550, let's call it 550, triple nickel 555. That's why I like to put up these graphics so the audio-only listeners, after you rate, review, and subscribe, hop on over to YouTube, grab a screenshot. We also try and post them on the Bird app. That's Twitter machine, yo. Check out the Mayo Media net handle so you can see these things. And I think it's good to have all the information in one place because no one else is providing it like we are. But I think also to get your mind wrapped around the numbers and then to see like how these things can look so disparate and then maybe not really be. So Russell Wilson, the salary, $10K D-bucks, but since he's only projected for 17, the cost per point at 598. Ownership at 51 opposed to 65, right? Everyone's going to have Herbert tonight. Where you then got to go is the IPO. Herbert up around 16, Russell down around 12.50. Understand this, the top share in the Jock Market returns $25. So Russell Wilson must be the best player, or you can only return a 2-to-1. That's really tough for a player without a ceiling. Doesn't run, especially for a quarterback, or that is like a 400-yard guy like Wilson has not been. So I really like to keep those numbers in mind. Herbert, I've got the projected IPO at $16. I'm not going to be able to get there. I know some people do, and I've had very smart people say, hey man, he's the best player in the game, and I want the $25. I go get it. That's fine. I'm just trying to appeal to the mass here, right? We have a lot of novices here. People, make sure you download the app, use the promo code MMN. That first $100 is more than enough money to do damage, though I would suggest new players wait until the main slate. Get into the showdown slate today, understand how it moves, get your hands on a free promo cash, play around with the execution, and then see how you did in the morning. So neither one of these guys really much of a value, though Herbert might have a value cost per point. The ownership at 65% going to make it very, very difficult. I don't know how you get away from Herbert. It's going to be hard to outright fade him. Maybe in DK, you just don't make him a captain. Let's get into the running backs. It's Mike Boone, Austin Eckler, Melvin Gordon. Let's do Eckler first. 19-point projection, 11.4 salary, leaving him at $5.93 cost per point. Now, this is why we do this work. Put it up next to Russell Wilson. They have the same exact cost per point. All right, Eckler has a smidge under, but if you're going to pay up, that's why you want Eckler opposed to Wilson, right? You could see Wilson and say, oh, he's a little bit cheaper, therefore it's a better value. No, when you input the projections and come up with your cost per point, you'll see they are equal. Now, the ownership slightly leaning towards Eckler, which I think makes sense because they're the favorites. The $15 IPO, again, they're going to make Eckler really, really tough, though. The way he's been playing, you can see why, right? These games are tough. We're looking for the best player in the game. Eckler certainly has got to be on a short list of those players, but it can just be very tough to get the $15 IPO, right? Because, of course, there's a world where he doesn't get there. Again, $15 IPO, you're going to be the top two players on the board. Basically, you're not going to profit. Melvin Gordon, Mike Boone here. These are the really tough ones. People are going to be going at Gordon, and I see the $9 IPO. I think it's going to get goosed up into the double digits, but I'm afraid of Latavius Murray, like I said. Gordon is a plotter. Murray is a plotter. Murray might be greater than signed Gordon. This smells like the disappointment of the night as far as chalk goes. I'm going to just get away from Gordon. If the IPO ends up below $9, if other people are on it, maybe a share or two. I'm just not really seeing it. I really, in showdown sites, I really want players that are either very, very cheap, that I think could fall into the end zone, or are the best player, and Melvin Gordon is neither of those. So, Boone and Gordon, and worry about Murray, because if you add in Murray and he takes away from those point projections, there goes the cost per point north of 600, and now I'm out because the IPO is not going to change. Into the wide receivers, it's DeAndre Carter, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Williams, and Josh Palmer. DeAndre Carter kind of jumping off the page here. If he does get those 5 points at 2,600 DK bucks, the 500 cost per point is just about as low as you're going to get it. And with the 16% ownership, which again is pretty low, I think you definitely got to keep an eye on Carter. I mean, it's not the best player. Let's take a look at Carter just really quick. I got some numbers here. He has earned 15 targets on 134 routes. Only 8% of the team target share, 14% of the air yards. So he does get some love. The target per route run is really low at 11%. But again, when they go to him, it is deep. So 11 air yards per target, 14.4 yards per reception. And he is the leading slot guy. So I think there's a decent narrative here where if you're afraid of Surtain, the work could move to the slot. Again, if you worry about the pressure up for the Broncos. Again, we often talk about punch, counterpunch, punch, counterpunch. So the punch would be, we like the Charger pass game, and they throw to Mike Williams. Let's go with Williams. The counterpunch is the Denver reaction to that, maybe using Surtain and blank bracket coverage against Mike Williams with Keenan Allen out. The counterpunch to the counterpunch, right? Because again, this is just a series of maneuvers and countermaneuvers, tactical, positions being taken on both sides, where the reaction to the bracket and the double team on the Williams could easily be Carter in the slot. And now Carter in the slot, eating up a few of those 14-yard receptions, is going to get him over 5 points and really pave the way. So if you're into that, right, again, to the narrative, you could say, John, that's stupid. This is going to be 6-3. John, this is stupid. That's going to be 41-38. I'm not really arguing with you. I'm just showing you my work, how I get there, and then hopefully sticking to that. Right? Remember, point from the beginning of the show, leaving feathers in the cap beyond today. No one cares about this analysis 3 days from now. But hopefully you will have a lesson that we've left you. But you say, man, yo, that crazy mofo was screaming about this, and that's a lesson that I'll take with me. So the wide receiver room in general is going to be really tough. You got to play it by ear in Jock Market. Again, I like to look at guys like, you look at Mike Williams. You know, he has a chance to pop the top. We've seen him just go absolutely ballistic as a target hog right now. And if you're not buying the Denver defense because you think it might lower the IPO, right? Mike Williams' IPO at 12 is a bit low. He's the lowest of the best players in the game. He's a bit too similar to Jerry Jeudy, in my opinion, with such a disparate projection. So, again, a little bit more of how we get to the answers here. So I think I like Carter. I think I like Williams, but he's going to have to stay under that 1250 mark. Remember, 1250 being half of 25. That's where I kind of draw the line in showdown slates, but that's just me. And then let's just wrap it up really quick. The tight end, but that's why I had it. So Saubert, you got to be careful of. People are going to be on Saubert because he has gotten some work. We mentioned him last week in that standalone game, and he did some work. Already might have scored. But it's Greg Dulcich is the name to know, right? That a lot. He's on the JM slate, so I want to make sure that I brought that up. So we don't know what's going to happen with the tight end situation here, right? We know the Broncos are rolling out Alberto. We know it didn't work. He had 5 catches in the first week. He's had 2 catches for 10 yards since. They tried, right, Saubert in his stead week 2, scored a touchdown on a 22-yard reception. Had a 25-yard reception against Vegas, and it was it. Then kind of have to half bust out for 5 catches against Indianapolis, who has been weak against tight ends. Dulcich is the guy. He's the guy they drafted. He's the guy they've waited on. They've been not babying him, but getting him ready and prepping him. He's active for tonight's game, from what I understand. That's the guy I want, because he's just going to be below all this stuff. He's going to have the low ownership in the single digits. His IPO should be below Saubert at 333, though at 333 is pretty low if you think Saubert could fall into the end zone. That's not bad. Let's say Dulcich is out, then I would want to get with Saubert. But other than that, probably not. And looking at Palmer, who I didn't really mention, bit high, $7 for the low expectations from myself at least. So, all right, that's our penny stock edition segment of the show. I like Herbert over Wilson. I like Eckler as far as running backs. And then I like Williams as probably the top scorer, but I like DeAndre Carter. He's my value. And then Dulcich also as well, tight end for the Broncos. All right, we're up in the red zone. If you thought I did a decent job, please press the like button. I've been told I do very well with that, so, I appreciate it, right? We bring this stuff out. I don't BS you at all. I'm the realness. We put this stuff out for free. Pretty good deal, right? Information for free. You press a cartoon finger that don't cost you a thing. Don't you worry about a thing. All right, once I'm singing, I know the show is going off the rails. Let's try not to get canceled before the season ends. So let's take a deep breath. We're in the red zone. Let's punch this home. I got a nice player prop for you. But let me just take a quick breath first. All right, let's do it. It's your one-stop prop shop. Brought to you by Jock Market, Mayo Media Net Week 6 Monday Night Foosball prop. We've been doing pretty good on these. We hit the last 2 standalones and then 2 of 3 on the main slate. Go figure, it was Mike Evans that was a letdown. I lost money on the Buccaneers. I had that game teased down to 2.5. Because I was in front of all the CLV, I teased the 8.5. I think I was sharp. It went close at 10. I'm like, yes, I'm so smart. I paired it with the Jets. That was plus 13.5. They win outright, and I look like a shtanada, which is a stupid for any of you that have never heard that before. All right, enough of that. Let's do the thing that we do. Let's get back in the win column. I want to be very clear, I have not placed this bet yet. This is just a lean right now. I have a bit more digging to do, but let me show you what I got. The audio-only listeners, no more suspense for you. It's Big Mike Williams. He's set at 68.5 receiving yards, and I am on the fence with the Surtain thing. I've got to do probably a bit more digging, but I got some cool numbers. So, Denver defense, which we mentioned. The passing defense is very strong. DVOA in place, adjusted sack rate, all that good stuff, yards per completion, all that. However, like I said, it's been there. We've had one receiver get there every week, right? So Alec Pierce is good, but he's not great, right? So Alec Pierce went for 81 against the team. So I just want to keep him on. Remember the variance before it's like, oh, he shuts down the world. And when he gets there, these things happen. Mike Williams is most likely going to just get absolutely force-fed the rock. You know, we did some of his stats, but it's just ridiculous, right? I mentioned 38% of the team air yards for Mike Williams. He's run 185 routes, earned 42 targets, 2.1 yards per route run, 11 air yards per target, 14 yards per reception. I mean, this is just totally thick. He's averaging 78 receiving yards per game on a 1,333 game pace right now. He's just been like insanely tough. And Denver is going to play a lot of zone, right? So Denver is the second heaviest zone defensive team in the league, more than 77% of the time. That's just jumping off the page. So we go to how has Justin Herbert fared against the zone? He's done very well against the zone. 150 dropbacks, 94 for 136, 5 touchdowns, only 1 pick, a nearly 70% completion percentage, 97 passer rating, and a plus .15 EPA per dropback. He's also gone for 297 passing yards, 3 of the last 4, and Mike Williams has just gone absolutely banana nuclear bombs the last 2 games. 17 catches, 254 his last 2 games without Keenan Allen. Do you think the Chargers pregame plan, do you think they're like, all right, let's get the ball to the big dude when Keenan's not in? So the Chargers are going to look to establish probably some semblance of a run game, and I don't think that's going to work because I just don't think they have the power to do it. I think the Broncos are a bit too fast on defense for the Chargers' style of running, right? The Chargers are not going to beat you up between the tackles. They're going to have to get it, right? They got to jump cuts and outside, like counter and get some draws and stuff. I don't think that's how you're going to do it when they're frustrated. I think you'll be seeing him force the ball to Mike Williams, and of course, he can do it in a single play. So, though I didn't jump on it, it does check all the boxes. Excellent player, right? Low total. Those are really the things we like the most. We want really good players that don't need to do a lot. Again, the problem is the opposition, but I think this one will get there. I also had a Melvin Gordon rush prop circled until, like I mentioned, the Latavius Murray stuff started to get to me. You know, they've been there. That Denver running back room, you know, looked encouraging last week. Gordon had 18 touches, just over 100 combined yards, 54 on the ground, 43 through the air. Boone cleaned it up with 10 touches, 38 and 47 respectively. But now you got another mouth to feed, right? So Boone was extremely effective through the air. You can't expect that. And Gordon, I'm just afraid if, 13 rushes is not a lot. So if Lat eats into any of it, 13 becomes a 10 or 9. I don't think the average is going to be there because I think the prop's at 45, 50, right? So you can't ask to average 5. I know teams have, but that was why I went to the Mike Williams well. So if I had to take one right now, that's it. If not, it's just enjoy the game, man. Just stop. Watch the Yankees tonight. Seriously, watch the Yankees and the Guardians. Sorry to mention baseball, but you don't have to feel forced to bet. We mentioned a lesson on the last show how no bet is better than a bad bet. We could do it really quick. And it's the truth, right? If you have $100 and you lose 10%, you're at 90. You win 10% back, you're not at 100, you're at 99, right? That's the simplest way to put it. So if you continually trade off winning 10% and losing 10%, you're going to keep losing 1% every time. So you have to win 11% every time you lose 10. Just a quick back-of-the-napkin math of why betting is so hard, because people feel forced to do it like, oh, man, I don't love it, but I got to get action. No, the smart bet is if you don't love it, you don't take it. Because if you take something you don't love, you have to do better than that, right? So that's the best I could do. Just press the like button. That's it. Just press the like button. All right. I think that scored the rock. You can't really do any better than we did. So I hope you enjoyed the show today. Thanks for picking up what we're putting down here at Mayo Media Net, presented by Jock Market. I really enjoy doing the show because it's everything, right? It's advanced statistics, it's application, it's projections, it's leverage, it's theory, and then different formats, and hopefully it's stuffing our pockets with cash at the end of it, right? The most fun part of it, besides screaming at our computer first thing in the morning before the sun is up. Remember, death, taxes, sunrise in the east, setting in the west, and the big dude up before the crack of dawn to bring you this show that means so very much to me that you leave with something impactful. So please rate, review, and subscribe to the audio-only pod. Remember, I do like the Chargers to win. I like Herbert to do some work. I think the sneaky play is DeAndre Carter. I think the sneaky play on the other side is Greg Dulcich. That's how I like to make my money in the Jock market on showdowns. Cheap, 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 cheap. It's very hard to be the top player, especially when you have to pay $15 a share. Right, the risk reward is not really there, opposed to a guy like Dulcich who might just be 25 cents a share, and all he has to do is catch a couple balls to double up. Right, where the player you paid $13 for has to go, completely nuclear, be the best player in the game. So, again, just one last lesson before we get out of here. I really do appreciate you all. Get up in the comments. Let me know how good of a job I'm doing. And I guess that's it for us here at The Mix. Yeah, yo. All right, we'll be back for the Thursday night show. Enjoy the game. Enjoy your day. And when we done with the book, enjoy that pay, everybody. Remember, when you work this hard, it feels a lot less like luck. You know it, man. Peace.